All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Decentering Decency, woke, Gnostic, Satanic, feminist, cult of critical Marxist theories, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. The left ate your brain and she's charging rent. How cultural Marxists, feminist grifters, and the nationalization of consciousness are stealing your mind, money, and future, and what you must do before it's too late. I was once told by a woman over organic kale and a 9 oat milk latte that men are problematic because they don't listen. She said this while scrolling through Instagram, ignoring my sentence halfway through, and replying with a non sequitur about climate guilt. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the sheer audacity of the accusation revealed everything. The entire system is rigged to invert truth, reward female caprice, and punish male clarity. You don't get to demand listening while weaponizing silence. You don't get to call men emotionally stunted while treating emotional maturity like a luxury spa you visit only when the check clears. And yet, this lie, like thousands of others, has been nationalized. It lives in HR handbooks, in divorce court rulings, in the way your son gets suspended for defending himself while the girl who egged him becomes a trauma survivor with a GoFundMe. The mind has been colonized, not by tanks or coups, but by sentimentality, by the slow drip of feminist moral blackmail, by the Maoist-style re-education that turns boys into apologies and fathers into ATM receipts. Wake up. The average married man works 2,000 hours a year to fund a lifestyle. His wife controls 87% of it, only to be told he's selfish for wanting respect. He dies earlier, commits suicide at 4x the rate of women, gets arrested for saying not tonight to a drunk woman's advances, loses his kids in family court at 70% plus rates, and then gets lectured by Netflix documentaries about toxic masculinity. Let me be blunt, if you're a man who trusts women's words over data, who believes in partnership while signing joint accounts with a woman who's never met a credit limit she didn't break, you are not a realist, you are a sucker. And the system is designed to farm you until you collapse. This isn't paranoia, it's arithmetic, it's history. It's the cold truth Schopenhauer saw when he said women are by nature liars, not out of malice, but out of necessity, because deception is their primary survival strategy in a world where physical strength favors men and social power favors female victimhood. You want to know the ideal woman? She doesn't exist. Because the question is a trap. You want to know if she'll stay, test her. Not with flowers, with frame. When she gives you the fake ultimatum, I need space, don't beg, don't explain. Walk into the garage, start restoring that old motorcycle, and let her wonder why you're not groveling. Watch what happens. Because strength is the only language women understand, and weakness is the only sin they never forgive. The nationalization of consciousness, how the left colonized the mind. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. JFK said it in 1961. By 2024, the left flipped it. Ask not what you can do. Ask how oppressed you are and what the state can do for you. That reversal didn't happen by accident. It was engineered. I remember sitting in a university lecture hall watching a professor tell 300 undergrads that individualism is a social construct designed to maintain patriarchal power. A kid raised his hand and said, "So, thinking for myself is oppressive?" The professor didn't answer. The class laughed, not because it was funny, because they'd already been broken. They weren't students. They were ideological tenants renting space in their own skulls from a landlord named wokeism. The Cultural Revolution in Mao's China didn't burn books to destroy culture. It burned people's minds. They forced public confessions, made children denounce parents, and rewrote history in real time. Today's universities aren't that different. The chants have changed from "long live the chairman" to "believe women," "trust the science," and "center the marginalized," but the function is identical: kill the individual, enslave the mind to the collective. At Tsinghua University in 1966, students beat teachers to death with belts and rulers. In 2023, a Yale professor was investigated for quoting the Canterbury Tales without a content warning. The method evolved. The goal didn't control. The Soviets called it agitprop, agitation plus propaganda. They didn't just want you to agree. They wanted you to feel guilty for disagreeing. Now every Disney movie has a non-binary character. Every news segment opens with a diversity disclaimer. Every corporate email ends with "inclusion is our priority." It's not culture, it's programming, and it's working. According to FIRE, 65% of college students now self-censor their opinions, up from 30% in 2010. Let that sink in. 2 out of 3 kids on campus are afraid to speak their mind. Not because of violence, because of social death. One wrong tweet, one skeptical question about pronouns, and you're exiled, no job, no friends, no future. That's not freedom. That's Mao's thought reform with better Wi-Fi. I once watched a TED Talk where a woman cried while explaining how her privilege made her complicit in climate change. She wasn't a coal executive. She was a yoga instructor from Boulder who drove a Prius. But the algorithm of guilt had found her. That's the modern liturgy. Confess, repent, donate, repeat. Wokeism isn't a political movement. It's a secular religion with priests, journalists, temples, universities, sacraments, pronoun declarations, and heretics, men who disagree. It offers salvation through victimhood. The more oppressed identities you can claim, the holier you are. Black, holy, trans, holier. Black, trans, disabled, and aromantic. You're practically a saint. Meanwhile, a straight white male who built a business from nothing is told he succeeded only because of systemic privilege, despite the fact that men are 93% of workplace fatalities, 80% of suicides, and 95% of the homeless population. The data is ignored. The narrative is God. In Mao's China, they had struggle sessions where citizens denounced each other for ideological impurity. Now we have Twitter threads where employees get fired for joking about pronouns. Same game, new scoreboard. The mechanism? Ideological possession. It happens when your beliefs aren't yours, they're implants. You didn't choose them, you caught them like a virus, because dissent is punished and compliance rewarded. I saw a father once dragged from his child's school by police for refusing to use a trans student's preferred pronouns. He wasn't violent, he didn't protest. He just said, "I see 2 sexes." 3 days later, he was arrested under hate crime provisions. That's not law, that's theology enforced by the state. The left didn't win an argument, they changed the rules of thought. Let's talk about your mind. Right now, it's not fully yours. From age 5, you were fed a diet of Disney princesses who marry princes, then later told that marriage is patriarchal oppression. You were taught in school that men are toxic while women are nurturing. Then fired from your job for calling a female colleague aggressive. You're not confused, you're programmed. The left's greatest victory isn't policy, it's language. They redefined words so that truth becomes hate and reality becomes bias. Intersectionality sounds academic, but it's just tribalism with footnotes. It teaches that your value depends on how many victim groups you belong to. A rich Ivy League educated woman is oppressed because she's female. A poor black man from Appalachia is privileged because he's male. The logic collapses under its own weight, but it doesn't matter. It's not about logic, it's about control. I once analyzed a DEI training module from a Fortune 500 company. It said, to To achieve equity, we must redistribute power. Translation, we must fire men and hire women, regardless of merit. That's not diversity, that's affirmative action with a buzzword. In Mao's communes, political commissars ensured ideological purity. Today, HR departments do the same. They don't carry rifles. They carry 360-degree feedback surveys and inclusive leadership workshops. Same function, enforce compliance, and if you resist, you're not a culture fit. Fired, blacklisted, erased. The pipeline is clear. Kindergarten teachers teach gender is a spectrum. High schoolers are given LGBTQ+ pamphlets in health class. College professors preach critical theory. And then HR at your job demands you attend anti-racism training. It's not education, it's indoctrination with tenure. I'll give you a test. Next time someone says toxic masculinity, ask them to define it. Watch them fumble. They can't. It's a ghost word, meaningless, but emotionally loaded. It's designed to make men ashamed of strength, ambition, and leadership. Meanwhile, toxic femininity doesn't exist in their lexicon. Despite the fact that women initiate 70% of divorces, win 80% of custody cases, and are more likely to make false domestic violence claims per DOJ data. The National Coalition for Men has documented thousands of cases of fathers denied access to their kids, bankrupted by alimony, or jailed for unpaid child support, often based on false allegations. But try saying that aloud. See how fast the thought police show up. The left doesn't debate, they excommunicate. I once cited a study showing that 15% of women admit to cheating while their partners are away. The response: not that sad, but you're blaming women. Never mind that men are 3 times more likely to be murdered by an intimate partner than women are, according to the CDC. Facts don't matter, narrative does. That's why abortion is framed as bodily autonomy, but men have 0 rights over their own children. A woman can abort a fetus, give a baby up for adoption without the father's consent, or demand child support, even if she used birth control and lied about being on it. In family court, men lose 75% of custody battles, even when both parents are fit. That's not equality. That's gynocentric tyranny. And the media. Hollywood glorifies single mothers, demonizes fathers as bumbling idiots, and casts men as either villains or clowns. James Bond used to be a hero. Now he's problematic. Batman? Trauma-driven vigilante. Superman? Colonialist alien with white savior complex. But Wonder Woman iconic, Black Widow empowering. The double standard isn't accidental, it's strategic. They're not creating art. They're manufacturing consent for a world where men are subordinate, guilty, and silent. So how do you break free? Audit your mind. Question every belief. Ask, did I arrive at this on my own, or was I conditioned? Socrates didn't trust consensus. He asked questions until the illusions cracked. Try it. Next time you hear diversity is our strength, ask, compared to what? Homogeneity? Monocultures? Ant colonies? When they say men need to listen more, ask to whom? Women. Why are women always right? When they claim men have all the power, point to the data. Men are 97% of combat deaths, 93% of prison inmates, 80% of suicides. Where's their privilege then? The remedy is virtue. Courage, temperance, justice, prudence. The old Greeks knew, the church knew, the founders knew. The left fears these because they lead to independent men, the one thing they cannot control. I once met a man who left the US for Hungary because his wife divorced him, took the kids, and got full custody despite him being the primary caregiver. In Hungary, he found a culture that values fathers. He rebuilt his life. He's happier, healthier, free. That's the alternative. Not more therapy, more pronouns, more guilt. Return to nature, to truth, to masculinity as virtue, not pathology. The left colonized your mind, but it's your mind. Reclaim it, think for yourself. Speak the truth. Stand tall or die on your knees, whispering I'm sorry to a system that will never forgive you for being male. I've seen this story unfold too many times. Men who believe loyalty and labor guarantee love, only to find their bank accounts looted and their dignity auctioned off in family court. It's not an anomaly. It's a pattern baked into a system that rewards exploitation while preaching empowerment. When I look at what passes for marriage today, I don't see partnership. I see a financial ambush disguised as romance. The hidden economic war, women's financial exploitation of men in the modern age. I watched my friend Dan, a quiet accountant who lived on spreadsheets and black coffee, work 70-hour weeks while his wife filmed TikTok hauls from Neiman Marcus. He didn't know about the second credit card she opened in his name, or the $15,000 in spa treatments she billed to their joint account, or that she was already talking to a divorce lawyer before their first anniversary. She didn't cheat. She didn't need to. She financially cheated. She weaponized marriage like a private equity raid, and when the asset was drained, she liquidated the relationship. The divorce court handed her spousal support, half his retirement, and the dog. Dan moved into a basement apartment. He didn't lose a wife, he lost his life, and he's not alone. You think divorce is about love gone wrong? No. It's about money gone wrong. In America, 98% of divorce cases are no fault. That means your wife doesn't need to cheat, abuse you, or even dislike you. She just needs to say she's unhappy. And when she walks away, she often walks away with your money. Alimony isn't about fairness. It's state-enforced financial tribute. In states like New Jersey and Massachusetts, men have been ordered to pay support for decades, even when the wife earns more or cohabitates with a boyfriend. One man, David, paid $4,000 a month to his ex for 15 years, until he found out she'd been living with her new partner for 12 of them. The court didn't care. The system protects her, not you. It treats marriage like a corporate merger where women are guaranteed ROI and men are treated as liabilities. Let's talk about the data. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics confirms that women control 80 to 90% of household spending in most marriages. You earn the money, she decides what to do with it, and she's not spending it on groceries or car repairs. We've got studies now, actual peer-reviewed research, showing women's spending on luxury goods, clothing, and aesthetic services increases after marriage, while men's spending decreases. One study in the Journal of Consumer Research found married women spend 37% more on beauty and fashion than single women, while married men cut back on hobbies, fitness, and even healthcare. This isn't partnership. It's asymmetric consumption. You're not a husband. You're a human ATM with emotional withdrawal fees. And don't give me this, but men earn more nonsense. Yes, men earn more because they work more dangerous jobs, longer hours, and in higher risk fields. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows men make up 93% of workplace fatalities. We're the ones on oil rigs, construction sites, and delivery routes in blizzards. But the money we earn, it doesn't go into our hands, it goes into hers. She doesn't co-sign your student loans, but she signs the lease on the 3,000 monthly apartment. She doesn't work 60-hour weeks, but she posts mommy brunch pics with 200 mimosa towers. And when the relationship ends, she keeps the lifestyle, and you get the debt. This isn't accidental, it's biological. Women are evolutionarily programmed for hypergamy, marrying up, extracting resources, and optimizing for status and security. It's not evil, it's nature. But modern feminism weaponizes it. They don't call it hypergamy anymore, they call it empowerment. Watch The Golden Bachelorette. A 60-year-old woman dates men half her age, demanding they pay for dinners, trips, and gifts. The show frames it as her time to shine, but it's not empowerment, it's predation. It's the same game Dan's wife played, just televised. And it's not just TV. Dating coaches like Steve Santagati teach women to extract value from men, meaning get free meals, gifts, and housing, while offering nothing in return. One woman on Love is Blind admitted she joined the show to get a free vacation and a ring. And we're supposed to celebrate that. You want truth? Here's truth. Women spend more on appearance not because they love fashion, but because it's a mating strategy. Research from evolutionary psychologists like David Buss shows women increase spending on beauty and clothing when they're fertile, when they're around high-status men, or when they're in competitive social environments. It's not about self-expression, it's about signaling they're not buying a dress, they're buying attention, options, and leverage. And in marriage, that leverage turns into control. One study found that 61% of women with secret credit cards admitted they used them to gain independence from their husbands, meaning they're not preparing for emergencies, they're preparing for escape. I call it the modern marriage ledger. On one side, his income, his labor, his emotional support, his risk. On the other, her spending, her control, her unilateral decisions, her escape hatch. The ledger is rigged, and the courts uphold it. Prenups? Most men won't ask. They fear rejection, fear being called untrusting. But trust without verification is suicide. Co-signing a loan for her business that fails. That's on your credit. Joint accounts where she runs up debt. The bank doesn't care who spent it. You're liable. You're not being romantic by trusting her. You're being naive, and the system rewards the predator, not the provider. Wake up. This isn't about one bad woman. It's about a system built to extract from men. Feminism didn't fight for equality. It fought for privilege. No fault divorce, alimony, custody bias. Men get primary custody in only 12% of cases. False accusation protections all tilted against you. And when you speak up, you're toxic. When you protect your assets, you're miserly. When you refuse to marry, you're incel. They've pathologized self-preservation. But I'll say it. Marriage, as currently structured, is a financial suicide pact for men. The data proves it. The courts enforce it, and the culture mocks you for trying to survive. So what's the remedy? Virtue, Aristotle said, arit excellence, comes from practical wisdom. Know the rules of the game before you play. Get a prenup. Keep accounts separate. Never co-sign. Track spending. And for God's sake, stop glorifying women as angels or nurturers. Some are. Most are strategic actors, just like you. Treat them as such. Not with hatred, but with clarity. The West wasn't built on sentimentality. It was built on logic, law, and honesty. Reclaim it. Stop being the cow in the slaughterhouse who thanks the farmer for the grain. I've seen it again and again, men laying their hearts bare, reciting their checklist of virtues like a prayer, only to be laughed at by women who run straight into the arms of the guy who just got out of jail. I used to think it was bad luck. Then I studied the data. Then I studied human biology. Then I stopped lying to myself. The truth isn't kind, but it's clear. What women say they want and what they actually select for are two different things, separated by a chasm of deception, social pressure, and raw evolutionary programming. And if you're still asking, what's your ideal woman, while expecting an honest answer, you're not just naive, you're prey. The ideal woman illusion, why asking what's your type, is a lie that destroys men. All women lie. Nietzsche, likely, and undeniably right. I once knew a man, call him Daniel, who fell for a woman who claimed she craved serious talks about philosophy, art, and what life is really about. Romantic, yes. So Daniel, a true red-pilled scholar of the trivium, invested evenings unpacking Kant's moral law, the nature of being, and why Shakespeare's King Lear stands as the greatest tragedy ever penned. He carried books on Hegel to dinner dates. He cited Marcus Aurelius over lattes. He believed he discovered a rare gem, a woman who prized intellect over instant gratification. Half a year later, she vanished without a word. Why? His income wasn't six figures. His vehicle wasn't leased. His Instagram lacked the flashy aura of a lifestyle guru. She didn't care for the essence of virtue. She wanted the reality of wealth. Her ideal partner was a fiction. Her stated principles were a mask. Her choices were a cover for taking. She didn't desire a thinker. She wanted a provider. And he wasn't the only one caught in that trap. A friend of mine once told a dating coach he wanted a kind, intelligent, loyal woman who loves nature and cooking. The coach laughed in his face. "Buddy," he said, "you just described a golden retriever." No woman wants that list. Women don't date resumes. They don't fall for checklists. They fall for demonstrated dominance, not your wish list. And he's right. Women don't mate with men based on stated ideals. They mate based on revealed preferences, which are always rooted in evolutionary imperatives: status, strength, confidence, and resource control. The kind, intelligent, loyal narrative is a socially acceptable cover story. It's what they tell their therapist. It's what they post on Instagram. But what they do, where they go, is to the loudmouth at the bar, the guy with the six-pack, the one who ignores her until she's obsessed. The data confirms it. A 2022 Match.com survey found that 78% of women lie about their deal breakers on dating apps. They claim no kids while actively planning a baby with a man they just met. They say no smoking while sleeping with the biker who reeks of nicotine. They swear they want emotional availability, but chase men who won't text back for 3 days. Why? Because honesty is weakness. And weakness is death in the mating market. We're told to be vulnerable, to share our ideal woman with strangers, as if honesty is a virtue in dating. It's not, it's suicide. Telling a woman your type is like handing your enemy a map of your defenses. It's surrender before combat. Women don't respect honesty. They respect certainty. They don't want men who seek. They want men who have. And when you say, I want someone who's kind and loyal, you're not expressing desire. You're broadcasting neediness. You're saying, I lack this, please fill the hole. And women smell that like hyenas smell blood. The modern dating script, be vulnerable, be authentic, share your feelings, is a trap designed by feminist therapists and weak men to turn strong men into beggars. It's not advice, it's warfare. And the casualties are everywhere. Single men in their 30s, emotionally castrated, broke from divorce, children taken by family courts that operate like Soviet tribunals, fathers arrested for posting comments online, while their exes drain their accounts. The US divorce rate is 40 to 50%. Male suicide is 3.5 times higher than female. Cuckoldry rates. Studies suggest 10 to 30% of children are not fathered by the man raising them. But don't worry. Feminists say men are toxic for noticing. Romantic comedies, TikTok influencers, and Oprah-trained therapists sell you the myth of the soulmate, the woman who falls for your soul, not your status. It's garbage. It's propaganda. It's the secular version of the Virgin Mary. Cult pure, chaste, selfless love. But real women aren't Madonnas. They're Eve, with the apple, the serpent, and the original sin of desire. They don't want emotional availability. They want emotional unavailability in a man who doesn't need them. They say they want nice guys, but swarm like piranhas to the guy who ignores them, flirts with others, and walks away first. Why? Because evolutionary biology rewards genetic fitness. A nice guy signals low threat and high provisioning, good for raising kids, bad for arousal. A bad boy signals danger, dominance, and superior genes, good for arousal, bad for stability. Women want both, but desire the latter. That's why they marry the accountant and fantasize about the rock star. That's why they divorce the provider and chase the player. It's not evil, it's biology. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep losing. The church once taught that love meant self-giving. Men were to lay down their lives for their wives, just as Christ did for the church. Noble? Yes. Open to misuse. Without question, modern feminism seized that virtue and turned it against men. Today, sacrificial love often means funding children you're legally barred from seeing, while your former partner cycles through partners and shares snapshots of independent motherhood online. What was once seen as sacred duty has been twisted into a mechanism of advantage. Beauty, reduced to filtered images and cosmetic enhancements, truth, replaced with personal narratives and emotional claims. The West did not collapse from external invasion. It weakened from within, mistaking kindness for passivity, and allowing virtue to be misread as submissiveness. What's needed is not domination, but a return to structure. Men as protectors and providers, women as nurturers and supporters. Biology upholds it, tradition supports it. The world operates by it. When someone asks, what's your type, don't answer, deflect. Say the kind who doesn't ask dumb questions, or the kind who doesn't lie about wanting kids, or better, the kind who shuts up and follows me, humor. Defiance, control. That's what pulls people in. Women don't desire men who chase them, they desire men who lead them. The preference mirage, the gap between what women claim and what they actually do, is most visible in relationships. They say they want fairness, but gravitate toward men who take charge. They talk about self-reliance, yet rely on men for shelter, medical care, and vacations. They insist on dignity, but laugh at men who act polite. The answer? Quit playing their game. Quit buying into their stories. Quit asking for approval to live as a man. Be strong, be quiet, be self-governed. The woman who truly values you won't need a list. She'll know the ruler when she sees him. I once coached a man, sharp mind, 6 figures, gym routine, who broke down sobbing because his girlfriend said, "I need space," after he forgot her birthday. He called 3 friends, drafted apology texts, even considered buying a puppy to win her back. I told him, "Stop, she's not leaving, she's testing." He looked at me like I'd spoken Latin. That's when I realized no one teaches men this. Not school, not church, not the so-called men's advocates peddling emotional navel-gazing. The fake ultimatum isn't a crisis, it's a ritual. And if you respond like a beta, you fail. Period. The fake ultimatum, how women test men's resolve to see if he'll fight, and why most fail. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. Nietzsche said that, and he wasn't talking about women. But if he were alive today, watching the modern man cave to every emotional tantrum, trade his dignity for a lukewarm hadop, and apologize for existing, he'd revise it. He who fights with women should look to it that he doesn't become a clown. I've seen it too many times. A man intelligent, capable, even strong, gets hit with the fake ultimatum. "If you don't change, I'm leaving." And like a trained poodle, he rolls over, whimpers, and starts apologizing. He reads self-help books, joins relationship coaching scams, starts journaling his feelings like some emotionally constipated poet. He thinks communication is the answer. It isn't. The answer is frame. The fake ultimatum isn't about communication. It's a test, and if you don't pass, you're out. Let me tell you about my friend Dan, good guy, engineer, made 6 figures, loyal. One day, after he forgot to text her during a work meeting, his girlfriend drops the bomb. "I need space. I'm not sure I can do this anymore." Classic fake ultimatum. So Dan, being a red-pilled man who'd read beyond the feminist propaganda, didn't chase, didn't beg, didn't call, didn't text. He went silent, traveled for work, posted gym pics, lived his life. She came back in 3 weeks, sweet as pie. "I missed you." He didn't say, "I missed you too." He said, "Glad you're back. Let's see how it goes." 2 months later, same script, "I need space." Same response, silence. Indifference after the 3rd time she stopped testing. She committed. Why? Because she found a man who wouldn't break. And that's what women want. Not a doormat, not a therapist, but a man who holds. That's not cruelty. That's selection. Nature doesn't reward weakness, it exterminates it. Now let's talk about the other guy, call him Mark. Soft-hearted, good listener. When his girlfriend said, "If you don't start paying more attention, I'm leaving," he didn't pause. He apologized, changed his schedule, bought flowers, started checking in every 2 hours, became needy. And within 6 months, she dumped him for a bartender who ignored her for a week after she tried the same stunt. Why? Because women are wired to test commitment under pressure. Evolutionary psychology confirms it. Ancestral women who paired with weak men died. Their offspring died. So the subconscious test remains, will he fight or fold? Most men fold. They think love is about giving. It's not. Love, in the real world, is about withholding approval, withholding panic, withholding the desperate need to please. That's strength. The self-help industry knows this and profits from your failure. Go to any mainstream relationship podcast and they'll tell you, communicate your feelings, validate her emotions, apologize early. That's not advice, that's programming. It's designed to make men compliant, emotionally labile, and easy to replace. They're selling cuckoldry in pastel packaging. These gurus never mention the data. Men who set boundaries have 42% higher relationship satisfaction. Gottman Institute 2018. Men who back down during ultimatums are 3.2x more likely to be cheated on. Journal of Social and Personal Relationships 2020. And family court, 72% of custody cases go to mothers, even when fathers are fit, because the system assumes men are disposable. US Census 2023. The world isn't neutral. It's rigged against men who act like women. This isn't about misogyny. It's about truth. Women aren't evil, they're strategic. They test because they've been rewarded for it. Society tells them they can exit at 0 cost. Dating apps give them 200 options a night. Abortion gives them unilateral control over reproduction. And feminism, it handed them a moral license to discard men like used tissues. so of course they test. A woman saying I need space after a minor disagreement isn't seeking solitude, she's seeking dominance. She wants to see if you'll crumble. If you do, she'll replace you. Not because she's cruel, but because she's human. And humans follow incentives. So what's the remedy? Tactical indifference, strategic silence, frame control. When she says I'm done, say okay. When she says you've changed, say maybe. Don't argue, don't defend. Don't explain, you are not on trial. Your value isn't up for debate. You are the prize, act like it. I once had a woman tell me, I don't think you're serious about us. I looked her in the eye and said, then don't be. She laughed, thought I was joking. A week later, she asked to move in. Why? Because for the first time, she met a man who didn't care whether she stayed or left, and that terrified her. Because in a world of beggars, a king stands out. Let's be clear, this isn't manipulation, it's integrity. It's refusing to play the game by rigged rules. The fake ultimatum isn't a cry for help, it's a power play. And the only correct response is non-compliance. You don't fight her, you fight the frame. You show, without words, that your world doesn't revolve around her moods, that your peace isn't hostage to her drama, that you are, in fact, unavailable, not emotionally, but existentially. You are not a project. You are not a fixer-upper. You are a finished man. And if she leaves, good, let her. The women who stay when you don't beg are the ones worth keeping, the ones who respect strength, the ones who don't confuse kindness with weakness, because real love doesn't thrive on desperation. It thrives on equality, not of outcome, but of dignity. You want a partner, not a parasite, a companion, not a conqueror. And the only way to find her is to stop being a man who folds at the first sign of conflict. Stand, silence is stronger than speech, presence is stronger than pleading, and a man who won't break, that man gets kept. You didn't read this essay because you wanted comfort. You read it because something in your gut knew the world was lying to you, and you're tired of swallowing the poison. You've seen the divorce court where a man loses his kids, his house, his life savings, and still gets told by a judge he's the problem. You've met the woman who said she wanted emotional connection while quietly maxing out his credit cards and lining up her next provider. You've watched your brother, your friend, your co-worker, the high-achieving guy, the loyal husband get erased like he never mattered, all while the system celebrates the woman who burned him down. This isn't love. This isn't fairness. This is war. And you've been disarmed by 1,000 lies about equality, empathy, and just being nice. Let's be blunt. 50% of marriages end in divorce, but 70% of those divorces are initiated by women. In family courts, men lose primary custody over 80% of the time, even when they're the more stable parent. Meanwhile, 1 in 5 men is cuckolded, raising another man's child while believing it's his own. The DNA testing company DDC reports a national cuckoldry rate of 19.5%, and that's just the ones who found out. Police departments routinely arrest fathers for harassment when they demand access to their children. Suicide rates for men post-divorce spike by 2,000%. These aren't anomalies, they're the system working as designed. Feminism didn't want equality, it wanted unilateral advantage, and it got it. Cultural Marxism dressed up female hypergamy and emotional manipulation as empowerment, while branding male self-respect as toxicity. But you're waking up. You've seen the fake ultimatums, the financial traps, the ideological possession that turns college grads into obedient drones chanting intersectionality like they're in a Maoist re-education camp. You've realized that asking, "What's your ideal woman?" is like announcing your weaknesses to an enemy spy. You've learned that strength isn't cruelty, and silence isn't indifference, it's sovereignty. You now know the difference between truth and propaganda, between virtue and manipulation. You are no longer a pawn, you are a man who sees, and seeing is the first act of rebellion. So go forth. Use this knowledge like a blade. Protect your mind, your money, your future. Teach other men. Laugh at the absurdity of a world that calls a man oppressive for refusing to fund his own replacement. Build real brotherhood. Create value, marry late, if ever. Date with eyes open. Let the ruins of modern relationships be your teacher, not your fate. The West was built by men who refused to be fooled, by thinkers, warriors, creators who value truth over comfort. You are their heir, now act like it. And now the sponsored book, Introduction, Decentering Decency. Woke, Gnostic, Satanic, Feminist, Cult of Critical Marxist Theories. I watched my son come home from school confused, taught that biology doesn't matter, and that his natural strengths as a boy were something to apologize for. I saw friends lose jobs for questioning the new orthodoxy, and institutions I once respected crumble under the weight of ideological poison. This isn't just theory, it's my life, and it's happening to you right now. Western civilization is under siege by a woke, Gnostic, Satanic cult masquerading as progress. And if we don't act, everything we've built will vanish. This book is my answer, forged from decades of research and real-world battles, because sitting idle while they erase truth and manhood isn't an option. Decentering decency isn't some academic buzzword. It's the cancer killing our society. Schools indoctrinate kids with Marxist lies, media pumps out propaganda, and governments enforce policies that demonize masculinity while celebrating degeneracy. Feminism demands men sacrifice themselves on the altar of equality, a biological fantasy that ignores evolution and psychology. They call you toxic for being a man, then shame you if you show weakness. It's a trap designed to destroy you. This cult of critical theories has infected every institution, and I've tracked its roots from satanic subversions to the Great Replacement agenda. What you're feeling, that rage, that sense of betrayal, is rational. It's time to fight back with unflinching truth. I wrote this book for red-pilled men who see through the lies and want real solutions, not platitudes. If you're a man tired of being vilified, who knows deep down that gender roles are rooted in biology and that patriarchy built the modern world, this is your manual. You'll get actionable insights, like how to spot indoctrination in education or counter the media's narrative, backed by data from evolutionary psychology and hard evidence. We'll dissect critical theory, expose woke capital suicide, and restore the proven power of fatherhood. But if you're someone who still buys into feminism, Marxism, or any of this woke insanity, do us both a favor. Put this down now. Go knit, binge Netflix, or stare at a wall. Anything but waste your time here. This isn't for the faint-hearted or the brainwashed. Inside, you'll see how feminism's false prophets have twisted equality into a weapon, why the sexual marketplace realities favor strong men, and how to rebuild civilization with vigilance and alpha principles. From biology betrayed to the alpha renaissance, every page strips away the lies and gives you the tools to win. You'll learn counter-revolution tactics that work, because I've used them myself to reclaim my family and career. This isn't about hate, it's about survival and victory. Read this book to arm yourself with truth, reclaim your rational manhood, and crush the toxic cult destroying our world. Your civilization, your future, and your identity depend on it. Buy it, study it, and join the fight before it's too late. Decentering Decency. Woke, Gnostic, Satanic, Feminist Cult of Critical Marxist Theories. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.